There's some very interesting things going on in session 16 of Lacan's Seminar XIII, The Object of Psychoanalysis. I'd like to take a look at those in relation to the function of the picture plane, which Lacan represents as a screen on various diagrams he makes showing the relation of the look and the gaze. I'd like to call attention to two rather famous paintings having to do with memento mori, the idea that we all have to face an event that we really can't say that we will experience ourselves, but nonetheless we wish to think upon them, as the sign above St. Jerome's head in the painting on the right shows, as this famous saint who translated the Vulgate Bible is pointing to a skull. The painting on the left is Holbein's The Dead Christ in Basel's Kunstmuseum. I'm showing it here in the room where it's displayed in relation to a set of couches that are approximately the same proportion as the painting. In both of these, the picture plane has a rather unique function of bringing the viewer into the very question that is represented by the painting itself. That is, the viewer is not allowed the usual detachment of thinking that they're looking as if through a window at something in the distance. We're all familiar with the diagram at the top, the so-called butterfly of two intersecting cones of vision, one from the viewer, the other from the viewed. There is a little ambiguity that is interesting. If we move past the literal interpretation of the cone of vision as extending from the viewer's point of view to a flat zone opposite, where the projected scene has a second planar manifestation, it's possible to say that the viewer has its own planar aspect, a flatness of the retina, where there is a blind spot in the middle. This is true physiologically, both in the actual blind spot where the retinal nerves connect to the brain, but also in the idea that our looking creates a blindness by means of desire. This is evident in Edgar Allan Poe's story, The Purloined Letter, where the very intention to find something that is believed to be concealed leads to a kind of psychological blindness that prevents the eye from seeing it in plain sight. We can admit this interpretation because Lacan himself takes up the matter of blindness of desire in several places. If we concentrate on how the intersecting triangles are constructed, we see even more possibilities. The fact that they intersect means that the presence of one cone begins with and is somehow inside the other. I'm just representing a few possibilities here to give you the idea of how we might talk about looking in relation to the reverse look of the gaze, and see how one is the product of the other. The screen takes on a critical role since it is the place of intersection, where the back and forth actions either begin or end. We often think of this screen line as the viewing plane, but that makes it almost too easy to confuse it with the physical surface of the representation, like the glass of the window pane. Lacan argues that all of these section lines are not natural. They are things that the subject of the signifier, the subject who is, in effect, the signifier, brings to the scene as structural components. They are present as soon as we open our eyes, as soon as we stand up from the ground plane. A new wrinkle is added when, in session 18, on May 18, 1966, Xavier Audouard presents a new way of drawing the butterfly, this time not with triangles, but with parallelograms. It is clear that Lacan does not like or agree with this redrawing, but this may be based on the way that Xavier Audouard, with Dürer, has represented the issue of foreshortening within the dilation of the cone of vision. What Lacan overlooks is that Audouard has presented a means of showing how the screen's two functions of being a place of a crisscross and simultaneously a rocking, or to be more French about it, a basculating transfer of properties of the subject and object, both of which alternate between seeing and being seen, become symmetrically different. This is evident in the way that the center of the cone on one side becomes the edge of the cone on the other, and vice versa. Audouard's variation thus offers us a way of seeing the butterfly in relation to other topological figures, such as the interior eight, Mobius band, and cross cap, where inside and outside are indistinguishable. For this alone, Audouard's variation should be added to Lacan's account and explored independently.